What's up, everybody? You're watching JoeBox TV, and I'm here to preview the highly anticipated welterweight bout between Errol Spence Jr. and Mikey Garcia. Spence defends his IBF welterweight title. He's the top dog of the division, with Terence Crawford set to fight Amir Khan, and with Shawn Porter having fought Yordenis Ugas last weekend. With Keith Thurman being fairly inactive lately, Garcia is clearly the best opponent and the best matchup. I think it's one of the best fights you can make in boxing. After a phenomenal amateur career in which he made the U.S. Olympic team in 2012 at the London Olympic Games, Errol Spence kicked off his pro career, and immediately there was hype around Spence, not only because of the outstanding career as an amateur, but also rumors of sparring sessions against Adrian Broner, where he was rumored to have knocked Adrian Broner out. A sparring session against none other than Floyd Mayweather Jr., in which Spence apparently gave Mayweather a black eye and gave him a lot of trouble. Although details are very limited, we're not sure exactly how much of that is true. Bottom line, he was one of the best prospects in boxing. In 2015, he won ESPN.com Prospect of the Year. Soon, he'd eventually step up and face mid-level welterweight contenders like Chris Van Heerden, Leonard Bundu, and others. In May of 2017, he traveled overseas to England for his first world title shot against Kell Brook. Brook won the IBF welterweight title by defeating Shawn Porter and was undefeated heading in. Brook's methodical style, very technically skilled, gave Spence some trouble in the early rounds, but eventually Spence broke him down. Slowly but surely, Spence began to grow a lead on the scorecards, and in round 11 he closed the show, and in fact he broke Kell Brook's orbital bone in his eye and ultimately took the IBF title. Spence would go on to make two defenses of the IBF title. One against Lamont Peterson, who is a top 10 contender, and Carlos Ocampo, whom he stopped in the first round. Ocampo was undefeated but untested. And this is going to be the biggest test of Spence's career, in my opinion, against Mikey Garcia. Garcia won his first world title at featherweight against none other than Orlando Salido, the man who beat Vasyl Lomachenko, mind you. He defended the featherweight title against Juan Manuel Lopez, then won a junior lightweight title by defeating Roman Rocky Martinez, defended that title one time after that against Juan Carlos Burgos. But then, due to legal troubles with his promoter, we didn't see Garcia in the ring until 2016. He bounced back with a tune-up fight against Elio Rojas, a veteran, where Garcia looked a little bit rusty early, but then stopped Rojas in the middle rounds. He then brutalized one of the best fighters at lightweight at the time, taking the title from Dejan Zlaticanin with the highlight reel knockout in round 3 with an overhand right. I believe it was a right uppercut, left hook, right hand combination. He would then face Adrian Broner, the always flashy and outspoken Adrian Broner. He outclassed Adrian Broner in an absolute clinic, like a terrific technical performance. And then he won his first junior welterweight title in his next fight against Sergey Lipinets. Then, and most recently, he overcame a 5-inch height disadvantage against Robert Easter in a fight back down at lightweight, taking a unanimous decision victory. So that sums up Mikey Garcia's career to this point. Now let's talk about the matchup. Although he might not be as big of a puncher as Spence, he does have knockout power, and he has produced some highlight reel knockouts. Perhaps more importantly, he is a master at controlling range. He picks you apart by keeping you on the end of that jab, and I believe he has one of the best ring IQs in boxing. I think he's technically superior to anyone around his weight outside of maybe Terence Crawford. Here's the problem. It's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. Standing at 5'6", Errol Spence is 5'9". So giving up 3 inches in height is going to make it much harder for him to control range with that jab. While I was contemplating my prediction, I thought to myself, how is Mikey Garcia going to be able to control range, pick his spots, when he's giving up 3 inches in height and perhaps more importantly 4 inches in reach? But then I think about the way that Garcia was able to negate a 5-inch height disadvantage against Robert Easter and still was able to fight basically the way he does when he outclasses every other opponent, which is controlling range with the jab and then exploding with those rapid fire combinations as soon as he decides to come in. He stayed just outside of Easter's reach, and then whenever he wanted to, he was able to slip inside of Easter's jab and land combinations almost at will. Bottom line, his ring IQ is gonna have to be the main asset that leads him to victory. So what am I expecting in this fight? Let me tell you. I understand that Spence is the favorite here, and most seem to feel that Spence's strength combination punching is going to be too much for the smaller Mikey Garcia. I have a feeling that Spence may actually be underestimating Mikey Garcia here. When I think about those clips of Spence confronting Terence Crawford and talking up a potential fight with Terence Crawford, and it was a big story. Oh, Spence and Crawford meet for future showdown. I've seen Spence recently talking it up with Keith Thurman as if Keith Thurman's going to be a potential foe soon. Right now, he needs to be worried about Mikey Garcia. And I know this is not a popular opinion, but I'm going with Mikey Garcia here. I think his ring IQ is going to prevail. Here's how I see the fight playing out. Mikey Garcia has to land something early to get Spence's respect and let him know that he can't just walk right through him and use his strength to wear him down. And he needs to let him know right away that's not going to be that easy. Ultimately, I think you are going to see Garcia land something big early. I think you're going to see Spence very anxious to make a big statement early on in this fight in front of his hometown fans in Dallas, Texas, at the Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium. He's gonna want to put on a show, and I think he's gonna be a little bit reckless early. I think Garcia will catch him with maybe a 1-2 that catches him off guard, maybe buzzes him a little bit. I don't think he knocks him down, but it's gonna let Spence know that he can't just walk right in. He's really gonna have to methodically apply pressure here. I think Spence probably takes the first round, and then in maybe rounds 2 or 3, that's when Garcia lands the first major shots of the fight. I think you'll slowly see Spence not back away, but back off towards maybe the center of the ring and I think it will slowly start to become a chess match. By the middle rounds, I think you'll see Garcia's ring IQ on display. I think he's got quicker hands than Spence, despite the disadvantage in power. I think he has enough power to keep Spence off of him, despite all of Spence's strengths. I do see a lot of technical flaws. Maybe not a lot, but a few technical flaws that are highly apparent. He fights flat-footed, as does Garcia at times, but he doesn't use a lot of head movement. He's fairly stationary, and that's largely because he is an aggressive fighter who looks to walk his opponents down. I do think it's significant to look at the Kell Brook fight. Even though Spence did ultimately stop Brook and put a beating on Brook in the later rounds, but as I said earlier, Brook was giving him a lot of trouble early on with that jab, and Brook does have a fairly similar style to Mikey Garcia. I think Garcia is going to be able to stick to the game plan better than Brook. And Brook did expose some flaws in Spence's defense. Spence keeps a good peekaboo guard, but he's open down the middle for straight shots. I think what you're going to see in those middle rounds is Spence lands some excellent body shots. I think Spence is going to be the aggressor, but I think Garcia systematically picks his spots. He catches Spence coming in with some shots that make him pause, make Spence think twice. Then, in the later rounds, that's where the real drama comes. It's very possible that you could see Spence stop Mikey Garcia in the middle rounds or the late rounds. I think the longer the fight goes, the more it favors Spence. If he invests in that body work early, it could really pay off for him late. Not to mention he's just stronger, a better combination puncher. Through about 7 or 8 rounds, I think you'll see Garcia with maybe a 3-point lead. I think Spence comes on very strong in the last 4 rounds. I think Garcia does probably take one of those, however. I think Spence starts to get to Garcia in those last 4 rounds. I think he really wears him down. By this point of the fight, Garcia is worn down by the body attack and begins to really absorb some punishment. But I don't think he gets dropped by Spence or gets stopped. That's very possible. But I think, like I said, I think Garcia has enough power to keep Spence off of him enough to get through those shaky moments. I'm a bit skeptical as to whether Garcia can win a close decision in Texas, not to mention Spence's hometown of Dallas. With all due respect, the Texas officiating can be a bit shaky at times, but ultimately I think Garcia cements enough of a lead in the first 8, maybe 9 rounds to hold off a late rally from Spence. My final prediction, Mikey Garcia by split decision. I do want to talk about the co-feature between David Benavidez and J. Leon Love. I'm a big fan of the Benavidez brothers, now living in Arizona. They're both from Phoenix. And as for David Benavidez, he's undefeated, but recently, in what was a bit of a roadblock in his career, he was stripped of the IBF title due to a positive test for cocaine heading into a bout with Anthony Durrell, which was canceled. Benavidez was open about how he was ashamed and felt embarrassed about the situation, And now he's looking to get back to his usual form. He's getting back into the ring against J'Leon Love, who at one point was a solid prospect for Mayweather Promotions. Love is now looking to return to his old ways against Benavidez and see if he can kind of resurrect his career. I do think that Benavidez is inside Love's head right now. They share one common opponent that I know of, Rogelio Medina, who knocked out J'Leon Love. And Benavidez stopped Medina in emphatic fashion. I think with Benavidez being the skilled pressure fighter that he is, he's not just a come-forward brawler. He's got very quick hands. I'm going with David Benavidez by unanimous decision. I can't wait. And again, let me know down in the comments below. Who you got? Who are you picking, Spence or Garcia? Until next time, Joe Box TV, out!